the alliance that changed the war plan. A U.S.-Japan Indo-Pacific military alliance has just forced China to reevaluate how it would fight its next war. Japan has committed $550 billion to the United States, the largest foreign investment in American history. But this isn't about trade deals or goodwill. This is about building a war-fighting partnership so tightly fused that every serious Chinese contingency protocol now has to be rewritten. This move is so devastating that the Chinese military planners are openly calling this alliance an existential threat, while stating how the weapons and systems emerging from this alliance could reshape the entire Indo-Pacific power balance. Hi, welcome back to the Global Intel Network. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please support the channel by hitting the subscribe button and turn on your notification for more. The $550 billion that terrifies Beijing. Let's start with that $550 billion figure, because it's not what most people think. This is not foreign aid. This is Japan investing directly into American manufacturing, aerospace, and defense production with a very specific objective: rapid access to advanced weapons Japan cannot produce fast enough on its own. Japan needs long-range strike weapons, weapons capable of hitting targets 1,600 kilometers away, and it needs them now. Here's what that investment is buying: 400 Tomahawk cruise missiles deployed on accelerated timelines, a range of roughly 1,600 kilometers, the distance from Okinawa to Beijing. 100 Boeing aircraft, expanded bilateral defense production on both U.S. and Japanese soil. These are not defensive interceptors, these are offensive strike weapons. Why does this scare China? Because it weaponizes economic interdependence. For years, China used manufacturing dominance and market access as leverage over its neighbors. Japan just flipped that script, pouring hundreds of billions into American defense industries, locking in U.S. strategic commitment while reducing reliance on Chinese supply chains. And there's more. This investment doesn't just buy existing weapons, it funds next-generation systems developed jointly by Japan and the United States: hypersonic interceptors, stealth missiles, and fully integrated command networks. China spent 2 decades building its military-industrial complex in isolation. Japan and the U.S. are merging theirs. Japan's pacifist era is over. For decades after World War II, Japan deliberately restrained itself. Article 9 of Japan's constitution sharply limited offensive military capabilities. Japan could defend its territory, but it could not project power beyond its borders. That framework shaped Asian security for generations. That era is now over. China forced the change. Over the past 15 years, Beijing has built the largest navy in the world by ship count, deployed hypersonic weapons designed to strike aircraft carriers before they can reach Taiwan, and transformed reefs in the South China Sea into hardened forward operating bases. At the heart of China's strategy is the First Island Chain, a defensive barrier stretching from Japan through Taiwan and down to the Philippines. Break that chain, and China's navy reaches the open Pacific. Hold it, and Chinese power remains contained. Japan sits at the northern anchor of that chain, and Tokyo has decided it is done playing defense. Japan's explosive defense budget shift. Japan's fiscal 2026 defense budget reached $58 billion, a 9.4% increase, and the 4th consecutive year of expansion, making Japan the world's 3rd largest military spender, behind only the US and China. But the headline isn't how much Japan is spending, it's what they're buying. Over $6.2 billion is allocated specifically to counterstrike capabilities, military language for offensive weapons designed to hit enemy territory before attacks can be launched against Japan. The command revolution that changed everything. Weapons alone don't win wars. Command and control does. In March 2025, Japan did something it hadn't done since World War II. It created a unified military command. For decades, Japan's ground, maritime, and air forces operated under separate chains of command. Coordination during a crisis flowed through political leadership, not battlefield commanders. That's deadly in modern warfare. Now, all three branches report to a single four-star commander, overseeing a centralized operations center with real-time intelligence sharing. Decisions that once took hours now take minutes. And here's the twist. The United States simultaneously upgraded U.S. Forces Japan, 60,000 American personnel, into a joint force headquarters designed to integrate directly with Japan's new command. In a crisis, Japanese and American forces now operate as one combined military. A Japanese destroyer detects a missile. U.S. Aegis ships launch interceptors. Japanese F-35s redirect to strike the launch platform, all within the same integrated command network. China spent decades preparing to fight Japan and the U.S. as separate forces. That scenario no longer exists. Japan's hypersonic sword and shield. Japan began producing its hypervelocity gliding projectile in 2023. Block 1, 500-kilometer range covering most of the East China Sea. Block 2, expected around 2030, 3,000-kilometer range at hypersonic speed. That's enough to strike targets deep inside mainland China, including military bases in Inner Mongolia. Hypersonic means faster than Mach 5, over 3,800 miles per hour. At those speeds, traditional air defense systems simply can't react in time. China invested billions in hypersonic weapons because they were considered nearly unstoppable. But here's what truly changed the game. Japan didn't just develop hypersonic strike weapons, it co-developed a glide phase interceptor with the United States. Derived from the SM-3 missile, this system is designed to intercept hypersonic glide vehicles mid-flight. Japan now possesses both the sword and the shield of hypersonic warfare, able to strike China at speeds Beijing can't defend against, while simultaneously defending itself from China's own hypersonic arsenal. The stealth problem China can't solve. Then there's the air domain. Japan operates F-35A Lightning II stealth fighters, already among the most advanced combat aircraft in existence. But Japan equipped them with joint strike missiles, creating what analysts call a double stealth capability. The F-35 is nearly invisible to radar. The JSM is a low observable cruise missile designed to evade advanced air defenses. Together, they can penetrate China's anti-access area denial networks and strike targets as far inland as Beijing, roughly 1,600 kilometers from Okinawa, without refueling. China spent 2 decades building overlapping radar systems, surface-to-air missiles, and fighter patrols to keep U.S. and Japanese aircraft away. The F-35/JSM combination renders much of that investment obsolete. And Japan isn't stopping there. 400 Tomahawk missiles on ships and potentially submarines. JASSM-ER missiles on upgraded F-15s. Type 12 anti-ship missiles on mobile truck launchers across Japan's remote islands. This isn't a defensive perimeter. It's an offensive kill chain designed to strike Chinese ships, air bases, and command centers before they ever reach Japanese territory. China's dangerous response. Beijing knows it. In December 2025, Chinese J-15 fighters locked fire control radar onto Japanese aircraft near Okinawa. That's not a warning, it's a simulated targeting sequence, one step below firing a missile. China followed this with joint air patrols with Russia, increased naval presence near Japan's southwest islands, and aggressive signaling around Taiwan. Why now? Because China sees the strategic window closing. If Japan fully fortifies the first island chain with mobile missile launchers, stealth aircraft, and integrated command systems, breaking through becomes exponentially harder. China may have the largest navy by hull count, but numbers don't matter if ships can't survive the kill zone. Deterrence, or the risk of preemption. So does this alliance deter China or accelerate conflict? The answer is both, depending on timing. Militarily, this is the strongest conventional deterrent China has faced since the Cold War. Any move on Taiwan would trigger an immediate, overwhelming response from two directions. That's classic deterrence theory. But deterrence only works if both sides believe it. And there's a danger here, the window of vulnerability. If China believes the balance is shifting permanently against it, it may choose to act before Japan's new capabilities fully mature. That's the acceleration risk. The next 5 years decide everything. Japan's transformation is only 3 years old. Many systems aren't fully deployed. Command integration is still evolving. The $550 billion investment is just beginning to flow. The next 5 years will decide everything. By 2030, hypersonic Block II missiles come online. Full Tomahawk deployments are complete. U.S.-Japan command integration reaches full maturity. If we reach 2030 without conflict, deterrence likely worked. If we don't, it means China decided its window was closing and moved before it did. This alliance has already changed the military balance. The question now is whether it changes China's calculus enough to prevent war, or convinces Beijing that time is running out. That's what makes this moment so dangerous and so important to understand. If this breakdown helped you stay ahead of global defense and technology shifts, like, share, and subscribe for what's coming next.